Welcome back to another episode of Chicago Brewed Sports. As always, we're joined by Brandon Nordley to my left, and to my right is Joe Cladd. As for myself, my name is Andrew Nordley. We are a podcast
for the fans and by the fans.
Tonight, obviously, we have a very special guest for you guys. He goes by the name Alex Pankey. We're very excited. He's a lifelong buddy of ours. Very excited to have him on the podcast. He'll be helping us recap the Chicago Bears versus Chargers, as well as giving us some Connor Bedard updates. So stay tuned for that. Tonight signifies our very first in-person guest, so that's awesome. Enough talking, let's introduce him. Alex.
Well, first off, thanks for having me on the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you,
As Andrew said, my name's Alex Pankey. I'm from the Chicagoland area as well. We're all from about the same area. A little bit about me. Played college sports, baseball, lacrosse. Been a lifelong fan of Chicago sports, except the Chicago Bears. That's a funny story. If you've ever seen those memes where it's like 7-year-olds pick their favorite team and let it ruin their life, the rest of their life, that's what I did, and I am a Chargers fan. And as Andrew mentioned, I was at SoFi Stadium for the Chargers versus the Bears, and I'll go over that, but it was an amazing experience.
I'm really looking forward to hearing about that game, Alex, because he was in LA, obviously, and that's going to be a good part of the podcast.
And then you not being a Bears fan will actually generate some good debate, some
Yeah,
other
of
good
course.
opinions, so we're looking forward to that too.
Of course.
All fans are welcome. So.
Of course, I'm very curious to see how many Bears fans there were in SoFi Stadium as well. You know, because as we know, Joe, Chicago fans travel and we support our team.
Absolutely, that's the whole reason why the Chiefs canceled the game across the years.
In Germany.
They thought it would be like a home game for the Bears. So.
Very true. But, okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Brandon, how about you kick us off?
All right, gentlemen, I'm going to start us off with some Bears today. A lot of breaking news, a lot going on in the Bears world this week. First thing I want to address, one of the things I think is most important from all the news break this week is the Montez Sweat trade. As we all know, we received Montez Sweat from the Washington Commanders. We traded our second-round pick of the 2024, or the next draft coming up for Montez Sweat. So I'm going to go into it, and we're going to talk about this. So first and foremost, couple pointers here, right? First and foremost, devoting major draft capital to improving a bad, non-contending team is potentially an egregious decision by polls. Now, that being said, is his value to the Bears this season is it going to be worthless moving forward? Is his value going to be worthless this season? Keep in mind that the Bears currently do have an 82% chance of drafting in the top 10 of the second round coming up here, meaning that we gave up premier draft capital as a rebuilding team. So obviously that's extremely valuable to us. We gave it up for Montez Sweat. Is that going to be good or bad? We'll find out. Couple more things. Sweat has never actually produced double-digit sacks in his entire career. Something to notate. Another thing to notate as well is that his pass rush win rate, which evaluates him on far more plays than just the handful that results in quarterback takedowns, is actually way down and has steadily been declining since 2019. So when you look at all of his counting stats, he's actually kind of been steadily declining since his first year in 2019, right? Oh, and one other thing, he's also going to be a free agent after this year, okay? Something else to notate. Now, on the flip side, if we're going to talk about some of the good things or some of the positives that could have come out of this trade, it's that Sweat is a established and proven contributor on defense, and the Bears' pass rush has been absolutely abysmal for quite a while. And last year, for example, the Bears had the worst pass rush. The Bears had the worst pass rush last season, and their money spent in free agency included. Starting with Yannick Ngakoue, Joe's guy, right?
Hey, Joe, say it.
Yannick Ngakoue.
There you go.
That didn't fix our issues this season. Also, through only 8 games this season, the Bears have only 10 sacks combined. So, again, right, staggering stat. In all 8 games this season, the Bears only have 10 sacks. That's not a winning football team. That's not a winning stat.
Probably be less than that if Justin Fields didn't run so much, you know.
Exactly, if he wasn't
as
nimble, right?
much.
And even Bajan's kind of nimble too for the last couple games. Ngankwe, he also, so again, right, Ngankwe, he was our free agent signing this offseason to kind of help the D-line against the Chargers on Sunday, and you were there in person to see this. He did absolutely nothing. I don't think he had a single tackle, a single pressure, a single sack. He had absolutely nothing. Now, just a couple more things, guys. Stay with me, and then I'll get to some questions. Another couple positive things that could have came out of this was that Montez Sweat, he is only 27 years old, which we know what that means, right? He's kind of potentially considered in his prime at that age, but he's also experienced enough to have kind of a veteran presence as well. In addition, the Washington Commanders could have franchise tagged him, meaning the Bears never would have probably gotten him in general. So this trade does kind of open up the door to re-signing him in general. So I'm going to ask a couple questions here, one to each you fellas. Andrew, my first question is directed towards you, and we can debate each one for a minute or so. After considering all these pros and cons, do you think that this trade overall was worth it? Do you think it was worth giving up a potential, very likely high second round draft pick for Montez Sweat?
Well, Brandon, I think that's a very good question. Thank you for asking. I do believe that Montez Sweat is a pretty good lineman in the NFL. Personally, he is 27 years of age, just like Brandon said, just entering his prime, so I expect his numbers to get better. Maybe a change of scenery will help him out. If Chicago could work out an extension with this guy, I'm 100% game. This is my personal opinion. He has 6.5 sacks in a young season, so he is having a pretty good season this year. And who's to say we don't draft another lineman, and bolster our D-line? That could happen. We bolster our D-line. Now next year, moving forward, we have Sweat and another rookie that we draft to top 5, hopefully. So look out for that. And I will play the other side of this as well. I did my research on previous second-round draft picks before the podcast, and the Bears have had some good success with the second round. We've drafted guys like Forte, Hester, Tillman, like great Chicago Bears, Hall of Fame Chicago Bears, pretty much. So I could understand both sides of it, but overall, I personally believe this is going to help the Bears out moving forward. Instead of, I just think it was a pretty good trade.
I think it's important to add a veteran.
Of course,
sure.
Yeah, of course,
for sure.
And I just want to say one more thing. Like, the Bears' defensive line has been terrible this year. So if we do re-sign a guy like Sweat, and then we go ahead and bolster our defensive line even more by drafting another guy early in the first round, next year moving in, our D-line is going to look a lot better than what it is this year. So I am pretty excited about the trade.
Good point, Andrew. And then actually, Alex, that's kind of a good segue to the question that I have for you. It is good to add a veteran, but again, it is one of those things where he is going to be a free agent next year. So we're giving up this draft capital for a guy that, who knows if we re-sign him. So my question to you is, does a guy like Montez Sweat, does he want to re-sign with the Bears with the state of this team? Do you think if the money's right, do you think he overlooks this team being young and inexperienced and underperforming? What are your thoughts on that?
So, kind of going off that question and the previous question, I think it is important that they signed him. And then I kind of read up a little bit, and he actually mentioned in an interview, I think someone asked him, what's your plans for the future, things like that. And he basically just said, we're going to play it by ear. We'll see how the season goes, see how I'm feeling, see how the connections are being made, and based off there. I think he could be someone that they potentially sign, and I think the Bears have one of the highest amount of cap space available to be able to be spending. So I think he knows that, and it's going to be important for him. Yeah. And going back to is it a good idea to sign him? When you're in the draft, you're always taking a risk, essentially. You see that they're doing good in college, but let's be real. When you watch college football, defenses are trash. Yep. Offenses could be trash, but predominantly offensive players dominate. Absolutely. So you're taking a risk drafting someone. You never know. You could always get someone good, but you have the proof that this guy is producing numbers in the NFL, and he wasn't on a very good team, really. The Commanders were not very good, and they're just starting to get good. They might have found a potential franchise quarterback, Sam Howell. He's been doing pretty damn good.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that they signed him, and I think it's good for the Bears.
Yeah, and I just want to say real quick, it's very important they re-sign this guy, because if we give up a second-round pick and that pick ends up being another good pick that the Bears lost out on, then that would be really bad and they'll look really stupid on Ryan Poles' part. But if he re-signs them,
Are you saying that Chase Claypool wasn't a good?
no,
That was the best signing in
I was
history.
gonna say that was pretty good.
What?
So that Chase Claypool that we got for the second round to Pittsburgh.
See, statistically,
Yeah, no.
he looks amazing though.
Yeah.
6'4", 220.
On paper, yeah, he looks great.
Yeah, he reminds me of vending
okay,
machine.
but look at the player that Pittsburgh got from that second-round pick.
Yeah, they got
A very
defensive player,
very
right?
good,
I believe.
very good,
Really good safety
defensive
or
player.
something.
So they just got to re-sign him.
I think in the Bears' defense, I think the
You don't
Bears
trade for a guy if you don't plan on re-signing him.
Right, I think that the Bears were in a position to be able to trade some draft capital. I mean, we have a lot of draft capital moving forward, even after parting ways with this potential top 10 pick in the second. We still have 2 high-end first-round picks next year. If we get those right, and if Montez Sweat does decide to re-sign, we could shore up that D-line with the number 1 pass rusher, right? And we'll have Montez Sweat on the other side, on the other edge, right? So, you get a Myles Garrett type of rookie, and then you get Montez Sweat on the other side. Your D-line's looking scary. You're
That's what I
pressuring.
said.
What does that do? That opens up the door to more interceptions if your D-line's disrupting the quarterback off, things like that. So, 100%
That's
agree.
why
Alex.
I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah.
So Foles definitely has a plan. Like, we're not in the NFL, we're not agents, we're not general managers. There's definitely more going on behind the scenes that we don't know about, and us as fans, I mean, we all have our ideas, but of course.
So Joe and Alex, you're segueing me like crazy today, man. I appreciate that. Joe, that leads me to my third question. I'm asking you this one. Do you think Ryan Poles do you think his hands are tied in this organization when it comes to spending money on big time free agents? As Alex mentioned, we do have a lot of capital to spend. Do you think they're just waiting for the right moment? Do you think that Poles' hands are tied by ownership? What are your thoughts on that, Joe?
So, I'll answer your question in a sec, Brandon. I do want to say that Montez Sweat, he did mention that he wants to play for the Falcons. I don't know if you guys heard that or
I
not.
didn't see that.
Did
Yeah,
you?
yes,
I didn't hear that.
He did mention that. I guess
Well,
his
that's not good.
he has family there, and he did mention that he would rather play for the Falcons. So Ryan Poles, it seems like what he's trying to do is he wants to build this team that's young, which is good. That's what you want to do, is build a young team, and that's how you and it's cheap. You save money. I mean, the only deal he's gotten done so far, or only deal he's signed, is the Cole Kmet deal. It's the only contract extension that he's done so far. So the whole thing with Jalen Johnson, supposedly Jalen Johnson wanted what Jalen Ramsey was getting paid, which is like $20 million plus. There's talks that they gave him a lowball number. It seems like Ryan Poles kind of wants to be cheap and real conservative about the money, and he wants to try and get a lot of players through the draft. And like Alex Pankey mentioned, that it could be risky doing that. You're kind of gambling sometimes. I mean, there's a lot of busts, unfortunately, that happen. Especially for the Bears. It seems like the Bears are good at drafting bust players.
Oh, for
in the
sure.
first
I was
round.
about to say that.
It
for
seems
sure.
like every Chicago team doesn't want to spend the money and would
right.
rather trying to get lucky through the farm
And to
system.
be honest,
Yeah.
I feel like the Bears should do the opposite of that, because it seems like they're always better at doing trades. And minus the Chase Claypool trade, but doing trades and being competitive that way, because they have a hard time in the draft. It really seems like, especially in the first round, if they even have a first round. But I think Poles is being conservative. He wants to try and save money. That's why we have so much cap space too. And
Joe, I wonder if Poles is just like, we're young. I wonder if he's waiting for the right moment. Because again, in one argument against
Don't
the
wanna wait
Montez
too
Sweat
long.
trade was that we're a non-competitive team, right? So
Right.
it's like, does it make sense to do this now, especially if he doesn't re-sign? Now that's a whole different conversation. But
Sure.
I hope that when the time is right, that Poles will pull the trigger on some huge free agent signings. And a lot of times that's what it is. Didn't the Cubs do that?
Yes.
They got all their young players, and then let's get a Ben Zobrist, let's get John Lester. You know what I'm saying?
That's how teams should be ran. You draft well, and then you fill the holes that you need with veterans. You know, I think that shows a good sign of like improving and stuff. But I want to add one thing to that question, Brandon, that Joe just answered. You know, trading for veterans, you know, it's a good thing because it sends a clear message to the clubhouse. You know, a team like the Bears are now that's struggling. You know, they're not enjoying themselves. Trading for a guy like Montez Sweat, you know, shows that, you know, management is behind the team, that they're trying to improve the team. I'm sure that uplifts the locker room, you know, kind of, you know, because we heard about Jalen Johnson wanting to be traded, but now all of a sudden, you know, you see that Ryan Poles is acquiring some good leadership, veteran leadership into the clubhouse. Maybe some players are going to turn that and be like, oh, that's really nice of him to do that, and that's going to improve their play, their locker room, and all the above. So that's kind of my opinion on that.
I think another strategy that Poles is kind of going through right now is the Bears are tanking. They're 100% tanking, in my opinion. But they also want to be somewhat competitive, but still have these veterans for next year and potential draft picks. So then these picks can kind of learn off these veterans. Because, I mean, they're 100% tanking, but they don't want to be. Basically, you look at the Chargers game, for example. They start off hot. You get the fans interested. They're like, oh my God, Mooney, a big pass, a big play, potential big play into the end zone. And then after that, they're just kind of like, let's just kind of slow it down a little bit and just work on what makes us better, I think. So
I also think it's just, it might also just, because you're right. How many times have we seen the Bears come out big on the first drive? I think the problem with the Bears is maybe it's the coaching. Maybe they're too predictable. Maybe these coaches are making the adjustments like after the first drive, things like that.
So if the Bears are tanking, then it's definitely not. I believe it's definitely not Luke Getsy or Matt Eberflus, because they're definitely going to lose their job at the end of the year if they tank. I feel like they are, unless they have some like under like the table deals that we don't know about, which it could be very possible.
I think so too.
Yeah, it could be very possible that is the case.
Because what do you do if you're a bad football team? Realistically, you can't openly come out to the public and be like, we're tanking, don't come to the games. You got to make it a little bit interesting.
Well, right? That's a awesome point that you bring that up, and I'm going to bring up baseball real quick. It has something to do with this. So back in 2012, the Washington Nationals were a poor team. They were not a good team. Well, it was actually before. It was 2010. They were not a good team, right? But they wanted to show the league that they were trying to improve and be a competitive baseball team. And what did they do? They gave out their biggest contract in history to Jason Worth to show free agents that, hey, look, we're serious about winning. You guys can't come here and expect to win moving forward. So that's what I think Ryan Poles' decision on getting a guy like Montez Sweat was. You know, it's going to attract free agents if they re-sign him that, hey, the Bears are serious about this, and, you know, we're not just going to continue to try and tank year in and year out. We are actively trying to get better.
Yeah, I think in just Chicago sports, just in general, modern day at least, I can speak on that, is it just seems like, I don't know, what do you guys think? I don't know, is it a Midwest thing? Is it just like years of underperformance, or what is it? But I feel like, especially as a Sox fan, I see it probably more than any other Chicago team, but it just feels like big-time free agents don't want to come here. I see that, so, you know, you see that with the Bulls.
And that's what I just said.
I know. It's just, there's something about it.
You got to go out and get that guy and show that you're serious. That's how you end that whole process.
But I guess the reason I'm bringing it up is because I feel like there's some sort of external factor that, even if you do bring in a guy, I feel like there's something about the Midwest, there's something about Chicago that people don't want to play here. Is it the weather?
It's also, I was just about to bring that up.
It's
cold in Chicago.
I mean, we have a good fan base.
Why would you want to play in Chicago when you go play in Miami where the weather is beautiful? You know?
Yeah. The fans, I would say, why you would want to play in Chicago. The fan base here is, I mean, it's huge, man. You know, like if you either, like, the fans will either hate you or you'll be a legend in their eyes. I mean, look at some of the great legends that came out of Chicago. I mean, Brian Urlacher, Walter Payton, Michael Jordan. I mean, like
Patrick Kane.
Yeah, well, right, exactly. Hockey too, and
imagine
baseball.
the fame.
And another great point.
You become a legend, like
imagine being a part of that Chicago Bear team that does win a Super Bowl, and kind of like the Cubs.
Or imagine like an Aaron Rodgers type.
Rizzo.
Imagine like an Aaron Rodgers type, like quarterback that
Yeah.
plays for the Bears and is successful for 15 years. Like
Oh, yeah.
he will
He'd
be a
the next
fucking
Michael
god.
Jordan.
Yeah.
Oh
I've
god,
said
like
that
Michael
before,
Jordan, dude.
100%. And I think that's what feeds a lot of interest
Yeah.
in.
Like right now, the Bears have Cutler to talk about, and he was a decent
See,
quarterback.
my dad still brings up Jim McMahon like every other day. Oh, the best quarterback.
Yep.
The Bears. I'm like, dude, Dad. come
But
on,
there
man.
are a lot of sports or athletes, pro athletes, who do truly love coming to Chicago, which I will talk about later in the podcast once we get to the Bulls. I have talked to some Bulls players.
Yeah.
Recent signing, Torrey Craig. I talked to him in person a
Oh.
few times, and he really loves Chicago so far. So
Yeah. But yeah, that was a great debate. I think we should move forward with other topics that we have because we have a whole bunch of stuff. So
But
Joe, why don't you
I
pick us up?
I do wanna add though
Sure.
that if the Bears are tanking, this is why I've said this before. I want to reiterate that this is why we should have a lottery system. I believe in like the first 2 rounds of the draft, so teams don't purposely tank. So I think it would make the sport a lot more.
kind of like
interesting.
hockey a little bit.
And baseball.
And baseball.
Yeah.
Baseball just made that a rule, and I completely agree with that rule. I love that rule.
Of course we love that rule. We up and dart, man.
With
Well,
like
no,
a
I just-
what was
no,
it,
but-
1.8% chance. or
I'll always
something
make
like-
the argument though.
No.
I'll always make the argument that it's so subjective
Yeah.
to like your experience with it. Let's say the Blackhawks had by far the worst fucking record last year, and
Which
then
they did
and
almost.
then because of the lottery, they ended up with the 5th overall. We're sitting here as Blackhawks fans, fucking furious. So in my opinion, yes, it's good for the sport. It makes teams, it incentivizes teams not to tank, and that's good for the sports.
Yeah.
But I'm just playing devil's advocate that it is kind of subjective to the outcome.
It kind of brings some suspense.
Yeah.
Like everyone
Yeah.
wants to tune into the draft and
Yeah.
see who's getting that number 1 pick. Kind of builds up the suspense. People are tuning in. It brings in revenue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all a business.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
It's all very good points, guys. But I do think we should be moving on. We covered this topic plenty. Joe, please pick us up.
Yeah, sure. I just want to go over some stuff that's going on in Halas Hall. I mean, like, it seems like it is kind of a shit show right now. So let me go through some of the. This was posted on 670 The Score by Chris Emma. So far to this point in the 2023 season, September 10th, we had that ugly opening against the Packers, the loss. September 20th, Justin Fields coaching comments. Saying that he's feeling very robotic, that it could be coaching. September 20th, Allen Williams' sudden resignation. So I want to get into that. So like he came out and said that he's resigning because of family and health issues. Turns out that the Bears said, "We're forcing you to resign, or you're getting fired." So he was forced to resign, and he lied to all of us, and so did basically the Chicago Bears, by saying that he left for his own reasoning, but he didn't get the option. He was forced to resign, and I still have no idea what was going on. I heard rumors about illegal pharmaceutical drugs. I heard stuff on his computer that could have been inappropriate, but we still have yet to FBI investigations, whatever. I still have yet to hear, unless you guys have heard anything.
I haven't
but
seen anything.
Well,
you think
you know,
they'll ever come out
and-
with something?
I
And,
don't think so.
and this is my opinion on
At
this.
this point,
I
I
just
think
He
think
gets
it's,
arrested
bridge.
for something.
I just
they
think
will.
it's in the past. He resigned. It's
Yeah.
it's not a big deal
Well, this
anymore.
is
That's just
Matt
in the past.
Eberflus's coaching staff that he brought over here is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So the
Well,
Chase
come here.
Claypool calls out the coaches. This happened September 29th. I think Chase Claypool was a cancer on the team. Mike Tomlin obviously thought he was a cancer on the team for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And man, did they get a steal for getting rid of him. And I think the Dolphins have been struggling too now ever since Chase Claypool has gone over there. We
Because,
talked about that.
because
on
he's
the
the
last
human
pod.
vending machine.
I don't think he's even played. They don't
No.
even have
Well, you heard what
him.
Tyreek
No.
Hill said about him, right?
Yeah, he's a vending machine.
Yeah. So
Chris
That
Claypool.
was
vending
before
machines-
the trade, too.
vending machines get paid to drop them.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's a
Chris
little bit of
Claypool is
tension.
just a moron.
What did you guys say? He's Vintner's barbecue chips and
Yeah.
25-cent bubble gum or something?
Yeah, right. Yeah, you asked
mean,
us what was the cheapest.
Ain't
thing
nobody
you know.
buying those freaking barbecue chips
Yeah.
out of that vending machine.
That's
all
funny
I'm
that you
saying.
bring that up.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. So October 1st, the complete collapse against the Broncos. October 6th, that's when the Claypool trade actually happened. So October 29th, the Bears fall 2-6. Matt Eberflus is 5-20. October 30th, Jalen Johnson came out and seeked a trade. Supposedly, he was asking a ridiculous amount of money. Ryan Poles lowballed him, and we really don't know what the numbers are. I wish I did. Supposedly, from what my understanding is, Jalen Johnson wanted $20 million, and they offered him $14 million. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I'm hearing.
He's one of the top guys in the league, isn't he?
They say
He's very good.
top 10,
very
15. I think his when people are when receivers are targeted by the quarterback, I think the quarterback's like QBR is like 23. I want to say. I think I read that, which is means that he blocks a lot of passes or no passes get thrown to that wide receiver.
I was gonna say I saw something on Twitter about that today, with all the drama going around.
And then the latest, which happened today, David Walker fired for not meeting, or was that yesterday? No, today. David Walker fired for not meeting standards. They said that it was inappropriate behavior in the workplace, whatever that means. And they still haven't described what he was doing. I mean, supposedly, my understanding, he was kind of a dickhead. I heard possibly hitting on someone maybe. Those are just rumors. I don't know if any of them are true. But this is also, once again, and we're in week 9 out of 18, and this is once again Matt Eberflus's coaching staff that is over here. And I heard Ryan Poles actually had nothing to do with hiring Matt Eberflus, which I don't know if that's true or not, but I did hear that.
Well, we don't want to go into speculation on what this guy did. Let's just leave it as he got fired and that's it. We don't want to spread any rumors on the guy.
Can I just say one thing?
It didn't work out.
Coaching staff.
For a young team like the Bears, with young quarterbacks, young players all around, all these young players coming up that we're going to be drafting, this is so bad for the development of a rebuild. I think everything. Young quarterbacks, like I said. I mean, I think that everything that's happened so far, you almost want to just forget it. It's been an abysmal season. We've all kind of accepted that in a way as Bears fans. But I'm just looking forward to I'm looking forward to hopefully we tighten the ship and we can get this fucking rebuild going the way it should. Because this cannot be good for any rebuild.
I think
it takes time.
I mean, the Bears are going through a rebuild, but I think it's very important that we do re-sign a guy like Jalen Johnson.
It's going in the wrong direction.
The Bears at some point need to start re-signing the guys on our team and not give them away.
For a guy like Jalen Johnson, I don't care how good he's been. It's unprofessional to throw a hissy fit in the middle of the season and say, "I want to trade me." At that point,
all right,
fuck off the team, dude.
All right, I actually did want to ask this as a question: do we blame Jalen Johnson for? So you do. Why?
I blame him because again, everything should be in house, especially if you're talking middle of the season. I get it. I get it that the trade deadline's coming up, a couple weeks or whenever, and I get it. It's make your move either it happens now or it never happens, right? But for a guy like Jalen Johnson, if this is proof that the players in our organization aren't trusting the process that we're supposed to be laying out for everybody. Hey, this is a rebuild. Bear with us, guys. The way the White Sox did it. Look, the White Sox was a massive fail, but I do believe that the players kind of believed, hey, we are going to get better. Let's trust the process. Guys like Jalen Johnson, guys like Chase Claypool, nobody has a belief in this organization that, hey, I want to stick around.
Yeah, but how long do you expect? At some point, the Bears got to stop saying we're rebuilding, and at some point you're going to have to put together a good team that's competitive and winning.
How can we do that with Justin Fields?
But how could we do that with allowing guys like Jalen Johnson to lead the team when we have already a very good cornerback in the league?
I feel like it's
that's what I'm trying to say.
To do.
And that's why I said at some point we got to stop the process of letting go our good players and hoping that a draftee is going to fill that need. Because guess what's going to happen? That draftee is going to turn out to be good, let's say, and the Bears aren't going to be good, and he's going to want off the team as well. At some point you got to kill it.
So you want to keep Jalen Johnson after those comments? Obviously that's horrible for team morale.
But you got to look at it in a competitive standpoint. These guys want to win, and if the Bears are not serious about winning, then 100% 100%, I understand why they should be frustrated.
Well, I don't like
because
that.
why do you think Jalen Johnson is playing football? You know, obviously because of the money, number one, but number two, he has a passion for the game. He wants to win. He wants to win a Super Bowl. And do you think Jalen Johnson thinks that the Bears are going to win the Super Bowl anytime soon? Probably not. So he probably doesn't want to waste his career in Chicago, where year in and year out we're going to suck. So that's why I'm saying the Bears need to start acquiring and keeping these guys.
If that's the case, he shouldn't be saying that this is where he wants to be. He loves the city of Chicago. He doesn't want to go anywhere else. And then he says he requests a trade. Like, you shouldn't, like, he literally said that this is the city he wants to be in. He loves the city of Chicago. This is where he wants to be. And then he throws his hissy fit because they lowball him on the offer, which I think his agent is giving him false hope about how much money he should be giving to him. I think that Jalen Johnson should probably get paid like 16, 17 million. He's probably out of like 20 of the best cornerbacks in the league. He probably ranks like 13, 14. So yeah, I think he should get paid. Obviously, I don't think he should be lowballed by any means. But I think they should meet somewhere in the middle where what he wants and what Ryan Poles originally offered him.
I think it's very trendy to kind of talk shit about your own team nowadays. That's all you're seeing in every sport.
No,
I don't see it as much in hockey, and I don't know if there's a trend with that, but I see it a lot. Like, I mean, Devontae Adams is talking crap about his team. You see it with James Harden making comments about the 76ers. He recently just got traded. Don't know if we're going to talk about that, but that's a pretty big topic going on right now. But
I mean,
it's very trendy right now. It's very easy to go on Twitter and post on there saying "F the Bears, they suck. I want a new team," kind of thing.
I just think it's a never-ending cycle. The Bears get good players, we end up getting rid of them. We get good players, we get rid of them. You know, it's just at some point it needs to end. We need to just.
in the last decade, that's true for sure.
I feel like Antonio Brown really fucking normalized that. Like, ever since the Antonio Brown outbreak, like, I just feel like players feel like they
That's
have
a whole different story. That's a lot of.
Yeah.
All right,
Ezekiel
but
Elliott was doing it too.
One quick question: how long do you think a rebuild should last? Like, what's a rebuild? Like,
Usually
how
takes 4
long?
or 5 years.
I would say 3-4 years.
I think if you're a good management, you got some good brains in the front office. I think 3 years is a good number.
I think so too. I mean,
I
for
agree.
example, you have, what was it, 2006 and 7, Blackhawks draft Patrick Kane, Tays, I believe that was the year.
Yeah.
By 2010, they're in the Stanley Cup. They win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
I think that's a solid 2-3 years of building. They were the worst team in the NHL. That's also when my dad decided to pick up season tickets, and we still have them since.
Very smart.
Very smart.
Oh.
So, I mean, at the time, the Blackhawks tickets were only $10, $12 maybe. And now,
Wow.
I mean, you have a benefit of having season tickets, of course, but, like,
Yeah.
it only took 3 years, and a great organization picked up stud players. Like, they grabbed guys like Marian Hossa and things like that.
Yep.
It truly helped the
When
team.
did I don't want to get too off topic, real quick. When did the NHL become nationally televised? It wasn't that long ago, right?
I think it's
So with the
2010,
Blackhawks, it's a whole different thing, though, because the previous owner only had the away games on TV and had this whole strategy in his head saying that we're not going to televise any of the home games
Get people to go
to
the
try and get people to go to the games. And
Makes
this was
sense.
this was pre-Patrick Kane and whatnot.
Yeah.
So that completely flopped. They were terrible, had the worst record in the league, lowest amount of numbers. But I also think with guys like Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews, now you have Bedard, things like that. I think I saw somewhere that the NHL is starting to go on a rise in population again. It started dropping and it's on a rise again, which is cool. And I see it a lot in other places, which is kind of cool. So,
Yeah, going back to what you said, Alex, 3 years for a good front office should be a turnaround.
I think that's a solid number.
I think
But
that's a
the
solid
Bears
number.
can't
are
argue
going
with that.
backwards. They're not even like usually you should see like progression, but we're seeing
Well,
regression.
In order to have a successful rebuild, you have to have a good quarterback at the helm, dude. And that the Bears
Right, or build up the trenches.
Think about it. You could build up the trenches. I agree, that's true. But like, they tried to rebuild with Trubisky. He sucked. It didn't work. They tried to rebuild with Fields. We all gave up on him. He sucks. Now we got to start over. So it's like, how can you really have a successful rebuild in football specifically when you can't have when you don't have a good quarterback? That's the
So
problem.
what are we supposed to do?
Okay.
Draft a quarterback?
We have, dude. we have to get a good quarterback.
But
We've never had one.
look, that's why I think the Montez Sweat trade made sense because, I think everyone agreed that the Bears were going to go after a defensive lineman very early next draft. But now that we got our guy and we re-sign him, let's say, now people I don't think wouldn't really care that all that much if we do sign a draft a quarterback, because we did get our defensive lineman. And then we have that second top 5, hopefully, that we can
Well, I think
pick and choose what we want to do with that. But
Unique too needed some help, so this was a perfect signing.
yeah.
So I think them two at the edge will definitely help out now.
I know we're kind of going to talk about the Chargers game, Bears game, whatever. Are we just going to keep going on about the Bears? Because I want to make one more comment if you're not.
No, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of course, you see a lot of drama with Bejent and Fields, and everyone's like, oh, team this guy, we want him to start.
It's like 30-70, I feel like.
I feel like it's a bad thing to have Tyson Bejent to do good, in a sense. Like, could he have been the best quarterback in the league, kind of like a Brock Purdy thing, get lucky from the draft, last pick of the draft, this guy is D2 quarterback, make it to the NFL? You're kind of banking on Justin Fields to be that guy. And is he that guy? To Bears fans, it kind of seems like it from an outside standpoint. I don't think he's that guy. But I feel like if you start debating, you kind of run into a Mac Jones, Zappy kind of situation. Who's going to start? And now you have the fans arguing with one another on who's going to start. Now you have the coaches trying to figure out who's going to start. And I think that's a problem. So I think it's almost a good thing that he's not doing very well to kind of relieve some stress off of Fields and allow him to kind of perform at his best.
Well, Chris Collinsworth, you heard what he said, right? That Justin Fields should learn from Beijing. He said that live. Me and you were.
So, okay. With that being said, Alex, do you think next year Justin Fields is our guy still?
I think you're already committed.
Or do we draft a quarterback?
No, they're done with.
What I think the Bears should do. You're all in on Justin Fields. This is your guy. You have the fan base. They all like the guy. Yeah. Maybe not the best right now, just due to the Bears' record, of course. But say you get the number 1 pick with Caleb Williams. Do you take the risk of having him learn the system, and with all the drama going on with him trying to take partial ownership, whatever? Or do you potentially trade that pick to try and establish and gather better players to a team that, let's say the Falcons needed that quarterback, which they do need a quarterback. I don't think Desmond Ridder is that guy, and he's hurt now, and Taylor Heineke is starting this Sunday. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Yeah. I like Taylor Heineke, to be honest.
I think he's a baller. But anyway, I think that Caleb Williams is maybe not the choice for the Bears.
I agree with
it sounds nice to say, Justin Fields sucks.
I think the Bears should stay far away from Caleb Williams.
Yeah. So if we draft Caleb Williams, are we having the same conversation 3 years from now, like we did about Trubisky?
Yes, we are.
Potentially.
Yeah, I truly think we are if we draft Caleb
And with
Williams.
the way that I see that Bears fans are, they're always going to think about the past. And it's going to be like, oh, we could have drafted Mahomes. We took Trubisky instead. Now, let's say they do draft Caleb Williams, trade away Fields to a team. I think Fields would fit. I know brought up the Falcons, but I think he fits perfectly in that offense, essentially. That's what they tried to do with Ridder and stuff like that. Yeah. But, they're going to now, what if he balls out there? What if he's an all-star, MVP candidate?
That's a scary thought, and that just would show how
it's just going to
bad
be kind of
Bears
history
organization.
repeating itself.
No, but listen. What you're saying, Alex, makes 100% sense, and I think what resonated most with me is what you said about Bears fans being split on Bajent and Fields. Not only does that create chaos between the fans and the debating that, but think about the hard choices that these coaches have to make. I am fairly certain that. And again, it's possible that this isn't the case, but I feel like Fields potentially could have probably started on Sunday. It's possible maybe he could have started through his injury, but just to avoid having to choose one, they instead just ruled one of them out to say, hey, the easy choice is just Bajent. Because I don't think, as of right now, November 1st, I don't think the Bears can confidently say who they want starting as quarterback. I think they're still, even the coaching is still stuck between Bagent and Fields, and that's terrible. That's a terrible situation.
think they
Bagent is starting Sunday.
Yeah.
I know he
They
is.
announced that.
Well, I mean,
I think we have a better
if
chance
Justin
with
Fields
Bagent.
is still hurt, you don't want to rush him back because if
sure.
the Bears do still see Justin Fields as the franchise quarterback, you don't want to risk bringing him back prematurely, him, fucking up his thumb even more. So I think it makes sense why the Bears confirmed that they're going with Bagent next week as
If
well.
Bagent
didn't
falls,
say that,
No, they didn't.
But
They didn't.
No,
sorry.
they didn't say like what was going on with Fields. Like, why are you having Bagent in over Fields? Like he was really like almost like it seemed like they want to go with Bagent for the rest of the year.
It was
and
his
not
finger, though,
Fields.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
His
he
thumb
dislocated
or
his
something.
thumb. Yes.
So, real quick, Alex, the point that I was actually trying to make there was that as Bears fans, like, I get it. The Bears haven't had the best receiving core.
DJ Moore,
Prior to having DJ Moore this year,
Yeah.
I understand that, but I feel like in this 3-year sample size of Justin Fields, he's proven what he can do with his legs, but this guy does not have an arm. He's proven that he cannot throw the football.
He's got guys to throw to now.
He does 100%, and he still struggles. He is
holds
still
on to the
struggling.
ball
Well, he
too
could
long.
throw the ball. He
but
just doesn't know how.
He
to
doesn't
throw it.
make good
okay.
decisions, and even when he does throw the ball, a lot of times they're overthrown. A lot of times they're thrown late. A lot of times they're thrown off balance, and he's trying to make a fucking Superman play.
What I think you're trying to say is he doesn't make anticipation throws. He doesn't know how to do anticipation
Absolutely.
throws. He can't anticipate, and he doesn't do one-on-one throws for some reason. They have to be wide open for
He
him to
does
throw.
have an invisible O-line.
And that's what I literally just wrote down. I mean, for how bad Fields has looked, we got to give him the benefit of the doubt here that he has not had an O-line.
Yeah, but he holds onto the ball.
And
for
I
4.4
get
seconds.
that. I get that.
Averaging
But he
4.4
he
seconds.
still has a terrible O-line.
You heard
So,
what Tom Brady said.
um,
You have to, if you hold onto the ball longer than 2.7 seconds, you're holding onto the ball too long.
If Bagent
I mean, I don't
does
think-
good Sunday, do you think that the Bears might start doing like a Derek Carr, Taysom Hill kind of thing where Bagent is in the game, throw some quick passes, but then bring in Fields for a run play?
For a run, yeah.
Kind of like what's his name from
Yeah, but then they
he's
would-
like
Well,
Titans.
yeah, that would.
Defenses would
Well, I
know.
feel like that'd be
Well,
pretty obvious.
We've
Yeah.
talked about that on a previous podcast. Like,
They would know
if
what they were
Bagent
doing.
became the guy, is Fields? I feel like would be a great backup
I mean,
quarterback.
he
to
even
have.
considers himself
But
a
would he
top
want
5
to be?
rushing
There's
quarterback.
no
of
way
all
Justin
time.
Fields would sit here and be like, "Oh, I accept."
I don't
the
think he
backup
would.
quarterback.
Justin
Even though-
Fields, even with this invisible line, has made so many suspect plays, even when he's been given
Yes,
time in rare
yes,
situations.
for sure.
Remember, I think it was week 1, week
But
2,
it's
week
risky,
3,
though.
how open that guy
okay,
was. He
it's
doesn't have
injury
good ball
prone.
vision.
Injury
But
prone, man.
we could also make the argument here that Justin Fields, he has such an enormous amount of pressure on him that he feels as if he needs to make the perfect throw because every little play he does gets scrutinized up the wazoo. So that's not good for a young quarterback either. You want to bring in a young quarterback into an organization and a team that can support you successfully. And like, imagine giving a young quarterback the keys to the helm and be like, okay, like you're running this. Like obviously that's your job to run it, but like he needs some veteran players around him to also pick him up on his slack and stuff like that. And he just doesn't have the support necessary.
It's one
That's
big
why
mess
I'm.
right now.
That's why I'm torn on Fields. I think like how Joe said, he doesn't anticipate the throws, and he's not that good of a quarterback. He holds on to the ball too long. But I also think that the Bears are not helping him out at all. So
Yeah, for
Luke-
sure. We've talked about this.
Yeah.
It's facts.
Olin
It's-
Kreutz did say that, like, hey, if you want to have Justin Fields in, then you have to design plays that are for him,
Yeah.
which they're not doing. And if they're designing plays for pocket passers, and Fields is not a pocket passer. I think we could all admit that Fields is not good at passing in the
He's
pocket.
a running on,
Yes.
run out of the pocket.
Scramble
kind of
or
guy.
That's fine. Even Aaron Rodgers is a guy like that.
He was.
Aaron Rodgers was always better in play action.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Some
Every
guys
time he
excel that
scrambled,
way.
Every time he like ran
Yeah,
out of the outside
every
or
time.
took out of the pocket, I knew
Hot-
it was going to be like a 15-yard
Of
pass.
course.
Hot take, but I think the truth. Aaron Rodgers is the most talented quarterback of all time.
Yeah, he was good, man.
I mean,
He
He's
doesn't
not
have
the- not the
championships and
best.
all,
I mean,
but
you
I think
really,
he
you
is
really,
the most talented.
You really can't argue.
I would say
that.
top 5.
You
Got
really can't
amazing
argue.
arm,
Like,
can
you
scramble
could
around
even
the
go top
pocket.
3, honestly. with
Yeah.
Ryan.
Yeah, he's tough.
Tough.
He's always been
he
tough.
hardly has missed.
And that's what I was-
time.
I
dog,
can't even
yeah.
argue
We
with
mentioned
that, man.
that why I think Devontae Adams, he's throwing all this hissy fits. It's like, you know, I've seen him drop balls, not getting open,
Yeah.
and he's bitching that he's not getting the ball enough. It's like, I think Devontae Adams is a little overrated. I mean, ever since he got traded and has been on the Raiders, he hasn't looked that great.
That is some very, very good stuff,
Well, I'm saying
guys.
Aaron Rodgers made him look
Yeah,
better
yeah.
than what he was.
That's some very good stuff, guys. But we do have something important to handle at the moment. I look forward to this every single week that I'm not chosen. But Brandon over here,
Oh,
Brandon
yeah.
over here, he gave the wrong prediction. He was the furthest away. So you're taking the shot at Malore, buddy.
Yeah.
And,
What else is new?
And that is his, what, fifth time taking the
I've
shot at
lost
Malore?
track. At this
Fifth
point,
time
let's
taking
just
the shot at
fucking-
Taking
Malore.
one.
You've got to
You've
enjoy it
taken
by
two
now.
with the side bet.
I kind of do. Like, it's
With the
getting
side
easier.
bet?
Yes, yeah.
So
like Malore-
he lost one week,
Yeah,
the
it's
other
brutal.
side.
Malore's
But
terrible.
I will do the honors of pouring this for you.
Can you remind everyone what the bet was or the challenge?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. So every single week, us three give our prediction on the Bears game. If they're
Okay.
going to win, if they're going to lose, and spread and points wise, you know. So
Yeah, we add up the spread.
Yeah.
And whoever has the highest number from the spread
yeah,
is the one.
and that's been
So we
Brandon.
just made
Okay.
score predictions on Bears Chargers last week, and I
Gotcha.
was the furthest away.
Who was the closest?
I was by far the closest.
What was your
He's-
prediction?
Yeah.
31-14.
He was
He was
That's
the only.
very
He was
close.
the only one who
And
predicted
then-
It was
the
30
Chargers
to
winning.
13.
And then also, what did I say week 2 against in Kansas City? Excuse me, week 3. I said 42-3, and the score ended up being like 41-6 or something
Yeah.
like that.
Pour the
So-
damn shot, dude.
Sorry. I just had a glow because I've been doing a pretty good job. But this is a White Sox fan taking a shot out of a Cubs shot. So
Double the punishment.
double.
Yeah,
the
that should be
punishment.
interesting. Are we going to do the Saints Bears prediction right after this then?
Yeah.
I think Alex, did you want to touch on like your experience
whatever
at the
you wanna-
game?
Oh,
yeah.
In the
Please,
meantime,
yeah.
so this was my first time in California.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I've been a Chargers
Tell
fan
us all about
since
it, buddy.
probably 2004, 2005, Drew Brees, Tomlinson days. I think the reason I started liking the team was probably for those
LTA,
players. And the jerseys are, in my opinion, the best in the NFL.
It's a bold statement.
Bold statement, but if you look up a lot of the
A bold statement.
articles, they are in the top 3 in most articles. So there's a couple other
You're
uniforms.
saying
Maybe
the Chargers are top 3?
I believe so.
So
That's a hot
so-
take.
So tell us, you were in LA, obviously.
I was in LA. I stayed in the Hollywood area. Uber to the game. We brought a 18 pack of Coors Light, and we got to the game about 3 hours early. And I'll kind of branch off with the Bears fans being at the game. There was a lot of Bears fans.
They
Was
travel,
there?
man.
There was. The Bears fans do travel, and the first thing we did was we took our can of Coors Light and we went right into the parking lots, the first ones out there, the furthest from the stadium as well.
You guys slammed all 18.
Oh, absolutely. So,
Did
if we're
Carl
gonna
smash
ask
him over his head?
he did not.
Okay.
But we were waiting in line to take a piss, to pee. I don't know what's appropriate. And each of us probably had about 5 beers in that span. But in that span, we met Bears fans, a ton of them, and they were actually from the Chicagoland area, very close to where we were at. And I got a couple of their phone numbers.
Oh, no kidding.
They like talking with us. They own a fishing company. We're fishermen. We like fishing. We have
Wow.
a fishing channel. Maybe we can bring them onto our channel eventually and talk
Yeah.
as a potential sponsor, things like that.
Yeah,
But
that'd
anyway,
be really cool.
Bears fans everywhere. There's vendors everywhere with food. They're selling merchandise, not just Chargers merchandise. They're selling Bears
Really?
merchandise.
That's very surprising because you really don't see a home team selling away jerseys like that.
I think it's a lot of people. So what I noticed is a lot of people from LA are from Chicago. People move from Chicago to LA. And people are hustling, of course. You buy the merchandise, you're going to sell them. Buy them for $10, you sell them there for $20. So anyway, the first thing I bought when I was there, I saw a cool bucket hat. Maybe we'll be able to edit in the
Yeah, I
photo
saw
into
the bucket hat,
I bought a cool white bolt-up Chargers
Yeah.
hat, and we went with my buddies Ryan and Carl. And Ryan's like, Alex, if you see one of these hats, I'll buy one.
Yeah.
And crossing 2 parking lots, we see a guy selling Bears hats, $20, same thing. He bought one. We
Was
entered
it like a whole vendor?
It's one
like
of those.
a whole Bears vendor, or was it like just
No,
a dude?
it's more like he's got them on a stick.
Ah.
He's holding them up. But
Yeah.
I mean, the people are selling hot dogs or hamburgers. They're grilling. They're selling tacos, whatever. But there's parking lots surrounding that whole entire place, and there's a huge like pond, lake,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call, with a fountain and everything. The stadium is beautiful. Everything about the stadium is beautiful. You walk in, it's not crowded. There's a million gates to get into the stadium.
Yeah.
I mean,
So-
when you look at Soldier Field and then you look at something like this, obviously, of course, it's brand new, but everything's wide open. There's natural light coming in. Everyone's super nice. It's clean. The bathrooms are clean. There's a million stalls. It's got like nice marble floors in the bathroom. And
So
everything.
you pretty much just covered this, but how beautiful was the stadium?
Oh, 10 out of 10.
10 out of
So
10. Yeah.
my goal is to visit every single NFL stadium. I think I've been to 5 now, and I'm going to the Chargers-Packers game in a couple weeks.
At
I think it's
Lambeau Field.
November 19th at Lambeau Field.
Nice.
I've been to Cincinnati Stadium. I've been to Soldier Field, of course. SoFi now, Atlanta Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Yep.
That was the best stadium I've ever been to.
Really?
The best.
Better than SoFi?
Until
Oh,
SoFi.
okay.
So
Okay.
Mercedes-Benz, I think, was created like 5 years ago or something like that.
Yep.
When you walk into that place, everything's electronic. All the signs are electronic. There's huge billboards everywhere. It's got an awesome round atmosphere.
Yeah.
A huge natural light at the top that I believe that opens and closes. So when it's a rainy day, they can close it up. But I mean, it has a similar aspect to that at SoFi, which is awesome with the natural light. And when you're sitting in every spot in the stadium, one side you can kind of see the small little skyline, and on the other side you have the mountains.
Yeah.
And then right when the sunset's coming down, you have the sunset peeking through. Everyone can see it. Everyone can see the scoreboard no matter where you're sitting. And we were sitting in the nosebleeds. We could practically touch the ceiling.
Well,
I mean, it was a
How
prime
much
time
did you?
game.
How much did you guys pay?
So I think we sat right at the 50-yard line. We were in the 500 section towards the top. I think it was about $140 a seat.
140.
But we're right in the middle. Unfortunately, the Bears have been stinking. The Chargers have been stinking. So the resale value, everything dropped a little bit. So, I mean, we bought the tickets day one. So the moment the schedules were released, this has been a long time goal for us to go see the stadium.
well, the Bears did have a lot of hype going into the season.
It was a
as
prime
well
time
as the
game.
LA did. So
Prime
it
You're
makes
time.
saying
sense.
that you potentially overpaid.
We did overpay.
Because
I
you
think our
bought it
seats were
early.
going for about maybe $100 after,
Yeah.
so we overpaid by $50.
Fair.
But you have it's a primetime game, 2 stud quarterbacks going against
You
each
don't
other.
lose sleep over $40
No.
in a situation like that.
It was the most
Secure the
unreal
tickets.
experience
But-
I've ever had.
but,
And I want to make a funny comment.
Sure.
There were a lot of people wearing opposite team jerseys on there, and I know, Andrew, you are one of those people. So I want to make a funny comment about it.
Yeah, very true.
There was a lot of Packer fans at the game.
No kidding.
There was a guy, so I'll tell a funny quick story. We walked into the bathroom and everyone's screaming, "Fuck Green Bay! Fuck Green Bay!" And of course, I had many beers.
FGB.
FGB.
Where's Joe?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Too
Of
bad,
course
too
I have-
bad
I-
Joe's not here.
Of
yeah.
course, I have many beers, and I join in on the chant,
Yeah.
and I go up to him, and I'm like, "Hey, man, did you get lost on the way here?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"What's with the green?" I was like, and I was jokingly saying, I was like, "And you picked the worst quarterback in the NFC North?" And his face turns all red. He never said a single word.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny, but there was a lot of Cowboys jerseys, Packers jerseys. It
That's
was
some-
really weird. But I also
Ryan, I know
noticed-
Ryan thinks that's weird as fuck
it's
too.
not.
It
It's
is.
not
It is
okay.
odd.
It's
Why
not
do people
okay.
do that?
It's not okay, and my
Yeah.
dad would agree.
They wear
And
they
make
wear
fun as well.
they wear a jersey to a sports game where the team is even playing.
The only
I
time
do that all the time.
I know.
If you're a fan of that team, like for instance, I lived in New York. I lived in New York for a while. I went to Yankee Stadium a lot.
Yankee Stadium.
You know, City Field, Fenway Park.
He's that guy.
He's that guy.
Citizens Bank
He is that
Park,
guy.
PNC Park, and I would always wear my Cubs jersey.
don't-
regardless
hey, you're
of
not
who's
that
playing.
guy.
You know what?
And that's just I'm just a fan of the team, so I can go and enjoy a football game.
Whoever
and
watches
not the
this
Bears,
video-
but I'm gonna be wearing a Bears jersey.
Whoever watches this video, I want them to comment on if it's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
100%.
yeah, 100%. Please comment if that is
I think
allowed
it's okay
or whatnot.
for me. Like
Yeah.
for example, I wear a Connor Bedard Canada jersey to a Blackhawks game. But I don't think it's okay to see someone wearing a Sidney Crosby
Dude, that's fine,
Penguins
though,
jersey at a
obviously.
Hawks game versus the Coyotes. Like, that's not okay.
But we live in the United
I
States.
think you're
man.
better off.
You're wearing a Canada jersey.
All right,
it's
I'm
the
done
same thing.
babysitting this fucking thing.
It-
Take the
okay,
damn
yeah.
shot.
Moving
Fucking
on.
hearing it.
Moving on. That was a good.
I think
segue.
you have to just
Yeah.
wear
Cheers.
nothing.
Yeah.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
Here's to
Joe.
I think you should just wear nothing. Obviously not nothing. Like, I went to the Kings game. I also, on that trip, I went to the LA Kings Golden Knights game. Golden Knights game at Staples Center, which is now Crypto Center. Beautiful stadium. Not much compares to United Center as far as the size.
Yeah.
But I bought a Kings hat. It's a souvenir. I actually was trying to find a Golden Knights hat at the mall.
And that's where we're
is what
different.
it is.
I would never rep a team that I'm not a fan.
It's nice to watch a game and not root for a team.
Yeah, this guy.
You
the,
get to enjoy.
the valley fucking.
I enjoy I like watching the Suns.
And
And
the
another
Sounders.
thing is, if a guy's making me
You
a
know
lot
what?
of
I am
money,
100% right in this debate.
I don't think so. If a
Yeah, I'm
team's
100%
making
right.
me a lot
Please
of
let
money,
us know if you agree with myself or Alex.
I'm an
on this.
avid sports
On this
bettor.
debate.
If a team's
You know,
making me a lot of
he-
money, I'm going to support them and
he's
buy
a Hawks
jersey.
fan.
No, in
but
Alex's defense, my philosophy is this: I've been a big fantasy sports fan for a long time now, and like, if
bud, you okay?
Oh yeah, man.
Okay, buddy?
if I draft somebody and they
Fuck
have
right
a
through me,
dog of
man.
a season
Hey,
for me in
fuck right there,
fantasy,
right?
I'll buy their jersey.
Josh Allen
For
won me a
example,
Super Bowl. I bought his jersey.
exactly. So, like, for example, I drafted Ronald Acuna Jr. in fantasy baseball this year. Am I gonna buy a jersey? I haven't yet. Shame on me. I will fucking buy his jersey. He deserves for me to do that.
You got to support the guy that
So,
made
I
you.
understand,
gentlemen.
I understand.
Alrighty, gentlemen.
That was a fun.
That was
discussion.
a very fun debate. I think next on the list is Connor Bedard. Alex, do you have any information on Connor Bedard that you want to share with us?
Connor Bedard, absolutely.
I'd love to hear it.
There's a
And we're
lot
going
of.
into hockey, obviously.
Of course, Connor Bedard, he's been talked about for the last 5-6 years. If you're a big hockey fan, you know about him. I read a fact that Connor Bedard already had NHL scouts looking at him at 8 years old. Like, he was that good at 8 years old, playing in all these different leagues and whatever. So, of course, you're going to have the hype. Of course, the NHL's a business. They're going to talk about their number one pick all the time. I mean, any commercial, any advertisement, any statistic, they're always going to bring up Connor Bedard. And I know a lot of people are getting sick of it a little bit, but he is performing.
So,
and he's
Alex,
on a terrible team.
I do have a very good question that I want to ask you, and I'm very curious about. I'm
Sure.
sure other people are curious about. Can you safely compare Bedard to guys like Matthews and McDavid, or is it way too early to do that?
You're still pretty early on in the
Okay.
season, I think. I think once you get to about the All-Star break, you can kind of make an assumption based off of it. But he is performing. And another thing I wanted to bring up is a lot of people were talking about his face-off percentages.
That they have been rough.
They have been rough,
Yeah.
which they are, and
Yeah,
I'll bring
they
that
have.
up. He's taking the shots. He's looking confident out there, which is two big pluses out there. He is scoring. He's getting them chances. Does he compare to how Austin Matthews was starting? First game he gets 4 goals.
No, I
absolute
believe
mass destruction.
back-to-back hat-trick games.
That was this season.
Yeah.
So this season,
Yeah.
Austin Matthews started off with back-to-back
Wow.
hat tricks, which is insane, actually. But I believe that the Blackhawks had the hardest schedule to the beginning of the season out of
And
any
they
team.
did. And they were
faced-
all on the road.
They all were on the road. I
All on
believe
the
their
road.
first 6, their first 4 games in a row were on the road
Yeah.
before they even had a home game. They faced the Bruins, who were undefeated. They faced the Golden Knights, who were undefeated.
The Penguins.
The Penguins were a good team. They did open up with the win against them, but of course, the Penguins are a good team.
But anytime you have
Coyotes.
Letang,
The Coyotes
Malkin,
are a
and,
young team that are getting better. They're not a laughing stock of the NHL
But
anymore.
for the Hawks to
Also,
lose,
the Colorado Avalanche,
Yeah.
they couldn't score against them.
but we do got to talk about that one game, okay? The Blackhawks lost 8-1 on that game, and
Yeah.
I get it; they're an
The
up and
last
coming
game,
team.
right?
Yeah, but I mean that just is absurd and should not happen.
It is.
You know, that's like, and I like to compare like 8 goals in hockey is like probably equal to like 25 runs in baseball.
I think if I could dumb it down, I think there's two things that I think of when I think of the Blackhawks. I think A, they're a bad team.
Everyone
And
knows that.
Right. And I think B, Bedard is 18 years old. He's
turned 18
he's
years old,
obviously going to be a stud. Let's think about it. In 10 years from now, this guy will be in the league for 10 years and not even be 30 years old.
Yeah.
Do you
So-
think there's a chance he'll a bust? Like he can be a bust?
There's
Zero.
always that chance, but I
Zero.
think with someone like that, there's 0%.
Zero.
chance.
Yeah.
The
yeah.
only
There's
people
no-
who have been
no
hyped
chance.
up, like Connor Bedard, Sidney Crosby, and Connor McDavid.
Alex Ovechkin.
Ovechkin, people knew about him, but they weren't talking about him like Sidney Crosby coming up from a draft.
Dude,
I mean, Ovechkin's coming from Russia and whatever, so it's a
You know-
little bit different.
You know, I want to just say something real quick about Alex Ovechkin. So I believe it was the Montreal hockey team. They, you know, do you guys understand how leap years work? Like technically, I'm not sure if you ever heard this story before, but in leap years, Alex Ovechkin was 18 in the 2003 draft. He was drafted in 2004. So Montreal made the case that they should be allowed to go after a guy like Ovechkin because in leap years he's 18. Obviously, it didn't end up working out.
I haven't
but that,
heard anything about this.
yeah, no, seriously.
And I love Ovechkin.
Seriously,
I believe he's
seriously,
the best
it-
goal scorer
yeah,
of all
seriously,
time.
it's a pretty crazy story, but nonetheless, they didn't end up getting done.
Well, yeah, leap year just means that that doesn't. You just go by the
Plus
last
minus.
day. in
Yeah, no,
February.
but the whole point I'm
Yes.
trying to make
Oh.
is that you know they wanted him so bad that they were literally
Any
trying to
excuse, okay,
any
yeah.
excuse to try and draft him.
Yeah.
All right, Andrew.
Yeah.
So, tell me why Ovechkin's plus minus is terrible. What's your argument for that?
I mean, he's never been the ideal defensive player.
He's not.
Honestly, I think that has a lot to do with it. I mean, like Alex said, he's the greatest goal scorer
He has
we've
one
ever
job,
seen.
to
For
score.
sure, and his one job is to score. That's why
And he's doing
when
it very
Ovechkin's
well.
on the ice, it's important to have some very good defensive players like Carlson
Yeah.
in his prime and stuff like that to counteract.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
to counteract.
I was
that.
putting you on
Yeah.
the spot there.
Yeah.
So I brought up the face-off percentage, and I know you mentioned that, and a lot of people were talking
Yeah.
about the face-off percentages. For example, the very first game he went up against Sidney Crosby, arguably one of the greatest centers of all
Centers, yeah.
time. And fun fact, Sidney Crosby, his first year in the NHL, it's similar situation, hyped up like crazy, like Connor Bedard. He comes into the league. He's a great player, but his face-off percentage, I believe, was at like 18%. Come the All-Star game, he's an All-Star. And I believe he had this conversation with Joe Thornton, who at the time was definitely one of the best centers of all time as well. He asked him, what's the secret? What's the strategy? What can I learn from you to get better? And ever since that conversation, Sidney Crosby has been up ever since. And I think that plays a factor in his statistics on why they were so bad.
Yeah.
However, he has been winning a lot more since that point. I think
Yeah.
he's sitting at about a 37%, which is not good, but it's not losing 12 of
Yeah.
12 game one against Sidney Crosby,
Yeah.
things like that.
But
So
yeah, no, that's very good stuff on the Hawks. Do you have anything else you want to add, or does that?
I do want to add that we are going to the Blackhawks Capitals game.
Yes, we are. So
The
there you go.
December 9th,
Yeah.
I think it
and,
is.
And anytime the greatest goal scorer comes into town, you got I got to go and see him personally.
Except the last time you forgot to go.
I
You
forgot.
should've went.
I was supposed to go to that game. I just I didn't pull the
That was
trigger on
for what,
it.
the
And
600th
and
goal?
No, his 800th
Or
goal
800th
that ended
goal.
up being a hat trick. So I always shoot myself in the foot over that because I easily could have gone. But that was a great discussion over hockey. I really appreciate that, Alex.
There's a lot to look
Yeah.
forward to about the Blackhawks.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
100%.
You
Yeah.
know the team's bad, but it's exciting to watch to see what can happen.
Just gotta trust the process.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Get some pieces around
And
Bedard.
if history
Yeah.
repeats
Give it a couple
itself,
years,
Yeah.
unstoppable.
if history repeats itself, it might
Yeah.
be pretty fun in the next few years.
So before we move on, does anyone else have anything they want to add to the podcast or?
You know what? I don't think we're doing predictions this week, right? I think the Bears are on a bye.
No, they're not.
They're
No,
not.
they're
No.
playing the
Yeah, their bye week's like
the Saints.
like 14, I think, or something.
Who do we play this week? The
Saints.
Saints?
Saints, yeah.
Oh no shit.
Okay, well let's do that.
Is this towards the end of the
Yeah.
podcast?
Yes.
Do we want to do a quick discussion of Bulls. I don't know if you guys are big Bulls fans or not.
I mean, I'm a Bulls fan. I've been watching them a lot this year. I know they're on.
Yeah, if you have
seriously.
a segment on the Bulls,
sure.
go
If you
for
have
it.
some stuff you want to talk
I
about.
do like watching the Bulls. I like watching all sports. I do think the Bulls, they're frauds. I think they're frauds. The Bulls have their big three, Vooch and DeRozan and
Vooch
Levine.
fucking sucks, dude.
So Vooch
Big
had a
three.
huge game last game,
Kobe White not doing a single
and they
score
won. But they were playing against a rebuilding Pacers. It is what it is. But
Well, at least they're beating up on teams that they should be.
they should.
You know.
But the Bulls, like they're on right now, they're keeping up with the Mavericks. I'm kind of keeping up with it right now. Mavericks are a great team, of course. You have Luka Doncic, that's a top tier player in the NBA. But Levine, it's hit or miss. He's either dropping 40 or he's dropping 10. And same thing with DeRozan. He's kind of slow to start the game. He might cross over 20 points plus. And another thing is Patrick Williams. He's been a starter, and I don't believe that he should be a starter. He's not been performing, and there's a lot of contract talk about him. He's been mentioning that he wants a contract. He wants a big contract. I thought I read somewhere that he said something along the lines that he wants something $200 million contract, etc. I don't know how true that was. I think I read it off of Twitter. That is the biggest bunch of bullshit I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean,
in my life,
we already
so.
made the wrong decision on re-signing Zach LaVine.
That's a big debate that I think we
guy
have to
who
bring in
a
another
guy who averages
big
20
Bulls
points
fans.
a game that has absolutely
So
zero.
right now,
defense.
I think Levine is
Michael
averaging
Jordan
like
did that in his
25
40s.
points a
Come on.
game.
we can't
Yeah,
be
Michael
giving
Jordan did that in his
contracts
40s.
over
Yeah,
200
so.
million to guys who only
I do
20
think
points game with zero
Levine,
defense.
with that big of a contract, was kind of a little bit of a bust. But I think we have to bring in another guest, maybe a huge Bulls fan, and have a real long conversation about that.
I think good teams in the NBA have a good bench. They have a good sixth man.
Well,
I feel like
deep,
I feel like the Bulls do have some pieces in DeRozan and Levine.
I think the Bulls.
But I think when you look beyond some of these starting five like Vooch and even Williams, like you said, he's not that good. But we don't have a sixth man. Like who was it?
We have Alex Cruz.
Who was it? The
sixth
Golden
man
State
right now.
Warriors? Was it Iguodala was their sixth man? Like, no wonder they're this good.
Yeah.
We don't have those pieces. So
Yeah, we'll see.
Jerry
how,
Jones, get it together, buddy.
Yeah, we'll
or
see.
Jerry Reinsdorf, excuse me.
We'll see how the Bulls do. I'm sure they'll be eliminated come the.
I think they're
come
a
the
first round
play-ins.
exit.
Come the plans like
If they get there.
every single year.
They're not gonna get there.
But yes, that's a very good segment. I think we're going to move into our score predictions for the Bears against the Saints on Sunday. So, Joe, do you want to start us off with that? What your
Sure.
prediction is?
I'm going to say that, this one's a tough one for me, man. I'm probably going to get a lot of shit for saying this. The Saints have probably the top fifth defense in the league. I think they're ranked number 3, actually, not top fifth. They're like top third defense all around in the NFL. So Tyson Bagent, his score, on fantasy was averaging I think around 12 points. It went down to 8 versus the Saints.
The Saints are projected to win, according to the spread, by 8.5.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on that?
I agree with it.
Yeah.
And you'll find that out very
Well, I could see why. You got a undrafted free agent, Tyson Bagent, that is in as your quarterback, that came from a Division II, which I think Tyson Bagent probably could have played at a high efficient level in D1, just based on what he's done in the NFL. I mean, he's beat an NFL team, so that just automatically tells me he could probably play Division I football in college just fine for any team, probably do and be successful. So he's a rookie quarterback, though, man. Rookie quarterbacks are going to make mistakes. I mean, he made some mistakes against the Chargers, obviously. You saw that
Joe,
live.
sorry to interrupt, but I feel as if you're really helping us with our scores right now. And I really appreciate it.
Joe, you're really helping me.
You're really helping me figure out.
But hang on, I'm telling you that
Yeah.
you guys are going to probably give me shit for predicting this, but I'm going to say the Bears win 30-27.
Holy.
All right.
Wow.
Okay, so
I like it.
Wild.
With everything Joe said there,
Do you guys have something you keep track of, like
Yeah, right here.
your overalls. Like
We're at an hour and 9 minutes. I'll remember that.
I think for future podcasts, you should you know how they kind of do it on the NFL for the games. They kind of go, oh, I think the Bears win this one, and say why real quick, and then they have their their statistics underneath how what their best record is.
Yeah, or
I
like
think
how
that'd
the
be
White
something to
Sox
kind
do
of
like the
include
fix
in
the
there.
click and
Yeah.
that'd be
Yeah,
cool.
that'd be pretty cool.
Getting sick of this fucking Malone.
But regardless, I'm gonna say my prediction. I think the Saints win 21-12.
So that's getting close to the spread.
That's a good
Well, it's always safe
that's a
to
good
go with
prediction.
that choice, but I'm a Bears fan.
Joe, your prediction is
And obviously,
and I'm a
and
Bears
obviously,
fan.
I'm
Fucking lie.
choosing the Saints win.
Are the Bears?
The Saints
aren't
win.
The
You know what?
Bears are one of the
Hey, buddy,
worst
I'm not
teams on
making
the
this
run.
mistake.
Yeah.
Run
I'm going-
defense, right?
Well, I mean, I think Herbert's
Bears have
coming
a
back.
terrible
They
run
got
defense.
Johnson.
Hold on.
Deontay
Let me
Foreman.
predict then.
All right.
Alex, you can make a prediction.
Fair enough.
I'm gonna go with Saints are winning this game. There's no doubt about it. Saints are winning this game 24. No, wait. What did you say your score was?
I'm not telling you shit, dude.
No, because I don't want to be too close to you.
All right, I said Saints are winning 21-12.
Yeah, see, I was going to be really close. I want to kind of deviate. I'll say Saints are going to win 28-16. 28-16 is my prediction. Saints.
Okay.
The Bears have one of the worst run defenses in the NFL. I
Without
believe they
Lamar.
might be the worst in the NFL.
The
Alvin
Saints have
Kamara,
Lamar.
Alvin Kamara is back.
Well, they have
He's
the worst.
healthy.
Yeah, they have
They
the
have
worst pass
Taysom
rush
Hill, who just
defense.
came off of a 2 rushing touchdown game. I believe he was the highest rushing yard player on his team that game. What's his name? Derek Carr. He's back. He's healthy again. I believe so. I don't think he's questionable. I think there's no question that the Saints win. The Saints have a good defense. I think we should make another side bet on how many times that Bajent gets sacked. I'm gonna go with the over under at 4.5. I think I'm gonna hammer the
So
over
you
on that.
just straight up having the Bears get decimated.
I think so. Okay, the Saints aren't the best offensive team.
What is your score, Alex?
I think that the Saints are gonna wind up winning like 35 to 35. We'll give the Bears 17. 35 to 17. I'm expecting a little bit higher game. I don't know why. That's probably the wrong take on this game. It's probably going to be a shit show of a game. But I think Kamara might go for 2 touchdowns. I think Olave gets in the end zone. I can see Cole Kmet getting in the end zone.
Oh, I think the Saints at home
And
have
they're at
a
home.
great chance of putting up 35 points.
And this is a very important game for the Saints. They're 4-4 right now. They're at a chance to be the top in their division. They've got some competition right now, but this is a big game for them, and they should dominate.
So
Kind of like the Chargers, it was a big game. They needed to beat a bad team. I think that's my take. 35 to 7.
So you heard all of our scores. Let us know if you guys agree with what we said or whatnot. But I think that concludes our podcast.
For anyone watching, reminder.
Oh, yeah.
Week 10, the Bears are playing the Panthers on Thursday at home. So stay tuned
It's a
for that.
must-win game for the
7:15 p.m. at home on
the Bears.
November 9th.
Is
On
that going to
Thursday.
be the Bears' third win of the season?
Well, it better be.
I think it will
Yeah.
be. That one it might be.
But I did forget. Joe
Either way,
brought up a good
win-win.
point. We need to do our annual beer review.
Alex, want to do us the honors, dude? Let's show it up front.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got Founders, 4 Giants, and the Haze of Destiny. I think it's a pretty cool can. A good amount of beer. How much alcohol percentage is it?
I think
That's
it's
a good
8.4.
question.
8.4.
Oh, no wonder. It's strong.
I think this beer is fantastic.
Really?
I think it's phenomenal.
Okay,
and
so-
I love IPAs.
So we'll go Alex
Okay, yeah,
to Joe.
so
Alex to Joe.
you are starting off and give it a score out of 10.
I love IPAs. I went through a long phase. I still enjoy them. I love all beer. I'm very picky though. I don't like specific beers. This is a Imperial Hazy IPA, so it's not an IPA. I don't think they consider that. It's not too hoppy. It's very smooth. It's kind of almost got like a little fruitiness to it, but it's not. I'm not a big fan of fruity beers. I know this wasn't podcast related, but we were watching the the Capitals home opener, and we tried a couple new different beers, and I thought they were terrible, but you did enjoy them.
Yeah.
I don't even remember the name. I don't want to remember it.
It was like a gummy IPA or something.
It was
like
some
that.
gummy bear IPA.
And then wasn't the other one
Terrible.
and freaking
The other one I love.
Unicorn's Blood.
Unicorn's Blood was the
Yeah,
name of
there
it,
you
and it
go.
was a great
There you
beer.
go.
You know,
No,
this
we're
went
fine.
down so smooth, and I think this is a multiple beer drinking beer. I did tune into the last podcast, and I heard about the peanut butter and jelly,
That was
peanut
good,
buttered
yeah.
beer.
I personally love that.
I think
It
that
was
would
very
be
tasty.
I think that's a great beer to have one of, and
Of
I
course,
completely
yeah, that's
agree.
it. It was
I
a
think
dessert.
I can slam a 6-pack
Yeah,
of
and
these
and,
be
and
perfectly
all
cool
of my
with it.
reviews are based off of one individual can. I'm not talking about like the, drinking it throughout the night. Like how I enjoyed it with that one individual can. And last week the peanut butter jelly
I think-
one.
It's a
think
dessert
this
beer.
can
was
Yeah, it's a
A
one.
very easy sipping beer if you're watching a sports game, you just want to have one. So I gave that a 9.3. But,
The can, the looks of it, I give it like a 9. It's pretty cool.
Okay, so
Overall, I think I'm gonna go with a 9.2. Like this is a
9.2,
really
wow.
damn good
Wow.
beer, and I think I would actually go
Remember,
to
10
Vinny's
being
and
your
go buy
best
some.
beer.
Yeah,
Ever
10 is
had.
being the best beer you've ever had.
We got to give me some slack. This is my first podcast,
Yeah.
and I've obviously been a
No,
sports
but
fan,
but if you're a fan of IPAs, and
I
you
love
really enjoy
beer.
them,
I love
that's
IPAs, and I did not regret a single sip of this beer.
All right.
So I'm going with a 9.2.
9.2,
I really enjoyed
very
it.
nice.
9.2.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think I agree. I think the design of it's pretty cool. Looking at it, I think it's pretty neat. Most IPA beer cans are pretty neat. I think they really, that's their niche. Any and each one. But in terms of like the beer itself, everyone knows this. I'm not a huge IPA guy. I don't necessarily think this beer is bad. And if we're just, since we mentioned it, if we're comparing it to like the PB&J, for example, like this is a beer I could have multiple of if that was my only choice.
It's not too hoppy.
right.
Like it doesn't give
It,
you that,
it
like,
does have like a
metallic-y
citrusy,
ash-
right? Yeah, it has a
doesn't
little
have that-
citrusy.
Like when you slam a
But-
different IPA, it's like hoppy. It stays in your mouth for too
Like an
long.
anti-hero.
But
Yeah.
the issue is that for me, it's still an IPA. It's still 8.5%.
It's not a PBR.
It's not a PBR. It's not a silver bullet. It's not
Right.
my preference. So I don't think it was awful. Easy to get down. Just not my preference. So I'll go with the simple and casual 6.8.
Okay.
6.8.
That's fair.
That's fair.
I think we have 4 different types of kind of drinkers here of beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have definitely covered a lot over this beer, so I don't have to go that in depth. I do agree that the art on the can was pretty cool, so I'd give it some bonus points there. It was a pretty solid beer just to have. I don't think I could drink this sustainable through the night, but
Yeah,
for a
I agree.
one sitting beer, I did enjoy it. I'm going to give it a solid 7.8, and that's a very good score. Yeah,
What was the score you gave the peanut butter and jelly?
a
again?
9.3.
That's
Yeah,
pretty impressive.
9.3. I
Do
really
you have any
like this
leftovers
beer.
of those? I'd like to do a
I
review.
drank
Yeah,
those
Post
the
the
last
last
yeah,
one.
it was very good.
Sorry, man. I would have.
Dude, it was good though. It really was.
Yeah, they have it at Vinny's. So,
You like peanut butter and jellies?
I do.
Imagine drinking.
dude, it
one.
brings back to your old lunchboxes in
Interesting.
school.
Yeah.
It even says it on the can.
Is it similar to drinking like the not your dad's root beer kind of thing? Like
You know, I was
where it
never-
tastes like
I was
it?
never
not as
really a
sweet,
fan. I
but-
was never really a fan of that.
It's not a stout, so like it's more of an ale. So which I liked about it because
Yeah.
stouts are real thick.
Yeah.
I'm
So,
not
yeah,
a
it was
stout
good.
guy either.
Yeah, it was
so-
not
But
a
I'm
stout.
very excited to hear your opinion on this beer because I know you're not a big IPA guy.
Yeah, no, it wasn't
Joe's
like.
the beer guy.
Yeah, Joe is definitely the beer guy.
Yeah, no, it was so IPA, India Pale Ale. It was definitely not like real hoppy, but it was still hoppy. If I drank this and you didn't have a label on it, I could tell right away that it was an IPA.
For sure.
If that makes sense. Cool. I mean, IPAs are known for like their art on the cans. Very cool. It was pretty easy sipping. It kind of reminded me of an anti-hero, not too hoppy. If I had to grade this, and I'm just not an IPA guy, but I mean, it wasn't a bad beer. If I had to grade this 1 to 10, 10 being the best beer, I would grade it a 6 out of 10.
And 0 being a
6.
freaking Bud Light, right?
Wow, Joe, I'm surprised. 6.
Well, yeah,
I respect that though.
Yeah, that
A 6?
A 6.
I think this definitely is.
Yeah.
See, I love
This
IPAs,
guy said a
so
9.2.
I loved it. I
man.
really loved
Hey,
it.
we
Do you
had a
really love
jalapeno-
IPAs like
But,
that?
but there's
Okay,
nothing
fair
wrong
enough.
with that.
Alex,
you
we
know?
had a jalapeno beer that we drank.
Yeah,
It
no,
was
that was
okay.
fucking dog shit.
I
I'm pretty
thought- I
sure.
liked
I'm
it,
pretty
man.
sure I
I
gave
liked
it a
it.
I
0.
wouldn't see that our scores would be
Yeah.
different again.
I'm
I
pretty
don't
sure-
like
Jalapeno
spicy
wasn't
beers.
that bad. It was
Thank
the
you,
other one.
Brandon.
It was
Thank
the other
you.
one.
I'm pretty
Brandon
sure.
and I have
I'm
similar
pretty
tastes.
sure
Yeah, it
I
was the
gave
other
that beer
one.
a 0. I'm not even
You
kidding.
gave it a 2.
See,
Oh,
I've
dude,
eaten
okay.
like the hottest peppers in the world. I've had a Reaper. I've had the hottest chip. I've had the hottest hot sauces. But I don't like
Drinking
hot stuff.
Like
in
Bloody
my
Marys.
It was
beer.
just
Get
weird.
Get it out of there.
Yeah.
Don't put it.
Yeah.
in
Do you
there.
like Bloody Marys or no?
No, I don't.
So, yeah,
So,
well,
Alex, a Reaper McChicken from Burger King doesn't count, dude.
No, I ate an actual pepper.
Oh, okay.
I ate an actual
But
pepper.
a Bloody Mary's good. It's very
Actual
peppery.
if you don't like
know,
spicy
yeah.
drinks, then you wouldn't
I can
like
tolerate it. And I ate the hot chip challenge a couple
Like spicy
months
margaritas,
ago.
you don't like nothing spicy
No,
to drink.
no.
I love margaritas. They're good to drink every once in
You
a
don't like
while. But if
jalapeno
there's
ones?
any spice in it,
Yeah.
I'm not drinking.
But,
it.
Yeah,
you
the
wouldn't- you
jalapeno
wouldn't
wasn't
like- you wouldn't
awful,
like
Joe.
it.
It was alright.
You wouldn't like it then. If
It
you
was
don't
that
like
other
spicy.
one you bought. You remember that one, the 14%?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
We still have one of those being wine.
Yeah.
And that was a $30 beer for 4 cans.
Those were
Yeah.
awful.
I figured I was
Truly
like
awful.
$30, man.
Yeah.
This stuff better be like
Yeah.
drinking something really
Yeah.
like gold.
But
That gold would taste good to drink.
this is the end of our podcast. We really appreciate you guys listening in on us. If you guys want to give feedback on our podcast, we'd really appreciate it. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment
Comment below.
And we really appreciate you guys for sticking with us.
Let us know about
Yeah.
those jerseys at opponents' games. Or
Yeah,
opposite
yes,
games.
yes.
I want to
yes.
know. I need to know.
For sure.
I
We
can't
gotta
be the
know. We
only
gotta
one.
know who's right. I think I'm 100% right here, but I always think I'm right. So
And thank you for having me on the,
yeah,
on the
anytime.
podcast.
We really
I
appreciate
would
having
love
you, Alex.
to. Maybe I'll tag along more often.
We look forward to having you on the
It was my
podcast.
first podcast. I thought it was a lot of
Absolutely.
fun.
Yeah.
Makes watching sports even more enjoyable.
Absolutely. So make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. And thank you for joining us.
Out.
Out.